So a vision quest has been done across almost every Indigenous culture, across pretty much since the beginning of time. We would go into nature, or living in nature, but we'd go off and we'd spend some time with ourselves and discover who we are. No distraction, just by ourselves.
I was thinking about our conversation today, how we often talk about growth, got to grow, and we always talk more, get stronger, get bigger, get faster. But the thing that I often take away when I work with you or talk to you is building capacity. Capacity doesn't always mean piling in. Capacity is equally as much taking out. What do we stop doing? What do we give up on? What do we move away from? And one thing I was thinking about from our earlier conversations is the third one of our couple of discovery chats for what you do and your business and life journey. What are some of the things you're doing today, or you believe or practice today, that you just couldn't believe, that your 20-year ago self can't believe you think, do, and practice, and even tell people you do? How much have you grown in that sort of a time frame? And just stopping to reflect on that for a minute.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Jonesy. I am just so grateful to be alive. And every morning I write that because I see that it's like the sliding doors moments in my life have happened many times, whether it be car accident, whether it be, times of life where I thought this is the end. I've got a few mates on my arm that have passed away as a young man. And even just to be here today, alive, healthy, feel that when I was young, growing up on the Gold Coast, I felt like I was always chasing someone that I thought I needed to be.
Right.
This concept of self that I thought I needed to be to maybe fit in, whatever it is, or let it out.
Who and how did that thought of who you think you might have needed to be at that time, who put that there? How did that get there? How did that form?
Well, I think that's probably for all us human beings, is like we're given this set of almost like a blueprint from our parents of how we're to be. My dad was a carpenter. I became a carpenter. I thought that was just the path of what you did. And I think probably a lot of listeners would probably resonate with that.
In the absence of something else, go back to toilet.
Yeah.
Fall back to the default.
Yeah, exactly right. And what is normal in one family may not be normal in another. My biggest realization was with my wife, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, saying to her, when you were young, did you, what's life like? And we were just comparing notes on what life was like. She was my best friend first. For over a year, she was my best friend. We weren't intimate at all. And so we shared everything about each other. She grew up in a beautiful family, what it seemed like for me on the outside.
Idyllic.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's completely different to how I grew up. My mum and dad separated when I was like 5.
Yeah, wow.
And to see the difference and just comparing that was like, wow, this made me really go, wow, everything I believed in, is that true? Who I thought I needed to be. And she was the first person to open this up within me, as I didn't to be anyone other than myself, even though I didn't know.
Did you ask that question? Of when did you ask that? Who do I need to be? And
well, actually, when we were first getting together, we both made a list, best friends at this stage, of who our ideal partner would be.
Starts with an Arch.
I've got it tattooed on me now too. And so when I wrote my list, I looked at Rachel and I'm like, it's like everything you are. And she made a list and it was like everything I was.
Oh gosh.
Little did I know, maybe a year or two prior, she'd split with her partner, and her psychologist made her write a list, or a counselor made her write a list of the person that she wanted and a person that she didn't want it. We were doing a personal development course with Tony Robbins at the time. I think it was Date with Destiny, where he made us write down the ultimate person we wanted to be with. And I looked at that list and I was like, wow, that's her.
How cool. How intentional.
And so, from that moment, she kept saying to me, well, it's like, that's my list of what I wanted. That's yours. And not just me of who I thought I was, but me and my heart
No, how beautiful.
of who my soul's expression was, and who that quite often talk about when I first met her. It was the 7th of April, 2009, 5:45 p.m. I met her. And I had this feeling, I looked in her eyes and I felt this feeling that I had never felt in all my life. And I was like, wow, like the thing about this person that I was just magnetized to. I was like, wow. And physically, she didn't look the stereotypical Gold Coast girl that I'd grown up with. And so I just didn't know what it was. It was only probably 10 years later that I realized that I was looking at unconditional pure love within. And that is what she exudes. That's who she is. And I didn't even recognize it.
There is a light in Rachel, there's no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. I
Full soul looking back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to, I get a bit emotional talking about it, like the amount of love that I have for her, respect I have for her, she makes me want to be, just continue to be the best version of myself every day. So I feel like I've had a challenging day. I'll go home and sit with her and she'll just go, how was your day? And she'll just let me talk. And she'll just being in her presence, it lights me up. So we did some research actually.
That's actually coming home. That must be when you think back to your early years.
Yeah.
Having that now.
Yeah.
That touchstone.
And that's why I didn't recognize it. And coming back to our original question of, who do we need to be in this lifetime? And, we probably see the beauty and the challenges in the world and go, oh, how can I leave this world a better place than I found it? And if I could just do one thing to improve one person's life, the way that my wife has helped me to improve my own life, then and my life has been all worth it.
The thing I love about that is two little connections to that. One is that when they asked Michelangelo how he made David, to get to the core, the essence in the middle, and the thing that I reflect on with that with my son is kids these days are growing up needing to get onto social. Thankfully, through the government changes later on, certainly the next generation coming through. But we never had to think about who we were as a brand growing up. We didn't have to think about what we thought about things and react to things and build a profile. And like they're actually having to build their own little mini brand and then lock in on that over time and sort of talk back and respond to things from that position. We never had to do that. And I think that's a really difficult challenge to do that from a time when you didn't have a clue who you are. You got no life experience and you're just reacting to what's around you, and those things around you will keep changing. But instead you build this brand that keeps carrying on through. I find that a really interesting thing. And it's something also that everyone's going to judge you in a microsecond.
Yeah.
They're going to see your stuff and go, oh, you're that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get that. That is not how you paint someone. And then you go even further to Tinder or something like that, where you're judging a person's entire value on a postage stamp picture. And it's shameful, really, that we let ourselves be distilled down into these artifices of our full essence. There's not a correlation.
Yeah. And we'll come full circle. And this just hit me right in my heart and my soul. That is why I go out and do vision quests every 6 months, spend time explaining myself.
Yeah, explain the vision quest so folks know what that is. Yeah.
So a vision quest has been done across almost every Indigenous culture, across pretty much since the beginning of time. We would go into nature, or living in nature, but we'd go off and we'd spend some time with ourselves and discover who we are. No distraction, just by ourselves. And we would have this direct connection to nature, but also the direct connection to our own nature. Mm-hmm. There are also different rites of passages of coming into age, going through different stages of life. And so for me, realizing that I went through these rites of passages potentially through my rugby league career, through where I was born up. I mean, most people would say becoming a man or a woman might be getting your license. It's a rite of passage, finishing school. But it's like, well, it's actually deeper than that as well.
It's pretty unguided. I think of Indigenous cultures where you then find your totem, and that totem represents your values and you adopt those values for yourself on top of your cultural values. So then you have this combined sort of framework to approach the world through. So you go within before you go without.
That's it.
And then you project what you've found. I find that's something we definitely miss.
So for me, I've been on prepared for 8 vision quests now. Since 2022 was 22 was my first one. And so every equinox, I go out into nature, spend 3 days in nature, no food, just water. And I prepared for this, usually following a nutritional plan leading in. So I know that my body goes into deep ketosis while I'm out on the vision quests. I take with me a journal. For me is to write down thoughts, feelings, belief, because you have all these things come up.
Totally.
Who am I? And that's one of the practices that I go through is, who am I?
Was one of these a light limiting or you took yourself out into a dark room?
Yeah, I did a darkness retreat. That was last year in October. I did 36 hours in a darkness retreat. I was planning to do a little bit longer. However, 36 hours for me was enough for where I'm at in my own journey. And
there's no it's not like you must finish a marathon length distance. It is a journey for yourself to get to whatever destination you're trying to get to for yourself. It's all personal.
We were saying this before, that quite often when you get the message,
go home with the message.
Apply it. Then knowledge is great, but when it's put into action, it then becomes wisdom, and then it lives within you as a being, it becomes who you are.
You come back and there's space between your words and space between your thoughts and space between your responses to things, and it's actually it's noticeably different. To mesh with you requires others to slow down a little as well, and not in a critical or that's not a criticism. It's just you can tell and you create a space for yourself. It's really quite profound.
Quite often I'll come back and I'll say, am I talking softly to Rachel? To Rachel, I'll say, am I talking softly? I sound really quiet. And she'll go, no, you sound like yourself. I still remember my first vision quest I went out on. Rachel came out to pick me up with the kids and she said it was almost like you floated out of the forest.
Wow.
Floated out of the forest because Sam was out on me and Yagara, a terrible country, and just literally floated out. She said, just so light. And understanding that is our nature. Come dense with these thoughts, these feelings, the toxicity of where we live and we're surrounded by.
Taking all these things in. All these things in, don't get out. Where and how do they get out? A little side note, I've traditionally cycled and exercised with headphones on and would listen to 50, Audible says I listen to 50 business books a year, plus Spotify, plus. So taking lots of ideas, and I love ideas and I try and distill them and bring them out in helpful ways, I suppose. But I've actually started writing with no audio and actually just letting things come out the other way and then stopping and taking notes when I'm cycling. Because it could be things I've forgotten, but it could be a realization, or it could be a connection of thoughts, or something I want to go ahead and do when I get back. Or, it's not just you forgot milk sort of stuff. It's sort of things that I know I need to do. It could be check in with someone I care about that I've just let slip into the background. And I found that really just grounding, actually. Yeah, I feel comfortable about that. It's comforting. So.
Absolutely. Well, we have this light within us, constantly bombarded by information from the outside. And how often do we stop and check with it?
Yeah.
Check with him, because it's give and take. You have to be able to.
And a shout out again to your breath work. That does that for me on a weekend when I can make it. I want to shift gears into, reflecting on what you've just shared around the vision quest. They're amazing. Well, I want to pick up something which is a more practical application. I think you bring the people a little sooner in your work with them around the 4 doctors and a perspective of how you have people think about the way they are looking after themselves in their day. Can you just run us through the 4 doctors?
Yeah. Well, it actually, I didn't create the 4 doctors.
Okay.
It was created by Paul Chek. I first read his book in 2009. He's got many different books and courses. And he spoke about these 4 doctors and they just stuck with me. He said they'll be the last 4 doctors you ever need. It's like, oh, that's really interesting, because if you listen to 4 doctors and you pay attention and you put awareness around that, you probably won't need to visit the doctor nowhere near as much. Dr. Movement, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, and Dr. Happiness. And those 4 doctors are almost like a framework around how we are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually encompassed in this world, and making sure that we are moving, conscious of what we consume.
Yeah.
That analogy of, if my cup overflows, I don't have to pour from an empty cup. My cup is just overflowing. So therefore, it'll flow onto the next person I have a coffee with, meet, or interact with. I don't need to put any more energy into it. I just send myself around that I love and care for, and hopefully they'll pull off onto them.
And sort of closing some of this out into one of the things that I appreciate from you and in watching you do your thing in the world is you don't have the usual success metrics that I see in other business owners. You also have different sort of goals and targets. Maybe just share some of the things that you would consider success. So if in the next few years your business was able to be a vehicle through which you can achieve your ideal outcomes, what does that sort of success look like, and what sort of growth do you hope to see?
Yeah, well, I can put it in a metrics and a number. The rough number is around about 200 people I wish to serve each year. And by serving those 200 people, hopefully I'll be able to allow them to be themselves wholeheartedly, physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically or spiritually. And then for them to pass that on to their loved ones and create that ripple effect of positive energy through the world. And we become the average of the 5 people we hang around. So if we can just lift that up just a little bit, then that will flow on to the other people around us. I can't remember who it was, but someone in that early in my career said, tell me about what do you want to earn for the year? Or, this quarter, or all that sort of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, great. It's a really good way of seeing things. And when I was in my career, when I first opened the studio, it was back in 2010. I remember working one-on-one as a trainer, and I was giving so much energy to all of my clients, and I felt like I was making a really good impact on all my clients. And we were doing quite well financially. But at the end, I was giving so much, I just felt so drained.
Kind of math and myth for yourself.
Yeah. And I felt like I was earning money at the cost of my own energy, to then go spend it on the weekend to just like, oh yeah, cool. I need to fill myself back up again so I can give energy to my clients now as well. And so there was an exchange that was like, oh, this didn't feel right within me. And so the exchange now is, how can I make sure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship?
Symbiotic rather than parasitic.
Yeah, symbiotic, exactly right. In a healthy way. How can we so feed each other and help our families, our community to thrive? Not just, okay, here's your session, here's the money for me, and let's just an exchange.
You're moving from a transaction, which has a till ringing over, into value creation, which you get a share of.
Yeah.
And there's a great book of a great mate of mine, Matt Dunstan, gave me called The Go Giver. And it had a core tenet in there, which was you're only ever worth less than the value you create for other people. They're not going to pay you more, right? So you got to find a way to create the maximum value, or at least the value for them you can create, and then only ask for less than that for yourself to be the means by which it was, captured.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. And I see you definitely through the new brand, through the various arenas you can now deliver value in, your corporate speaking, your one-on-one sessions, one-on-few sessions, and maybe as you codify more of your work and maybe even through vehicles like this, you start to share your thinking with more people and, one-to-many. I can absolutely see you having that platform that can make you share lots of great messages.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to give you and your team a massive shout out. It's been amazing working with you. I think I met you maybe like 2021 or 2022. But to be in here I have my own business, and for you to go, hey, let's sit down, let's really map out what you're doing here. Because I was doing a lot out here, but it didn't feel like it aligned in here because it felt like it was out here. Now the business feels like it's in alignment with what the core messages we're delivering and also the products and services that we're delivering for our community as well. So you've been able to succinctly put that together and help us deliver that in a way which is meaningful for us and our clients. So thanks again so much.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. You're doing a wonderful thing, and the more people who can see that from afar, identify it for themselves, and grab a hold of that, I think that's a gift to the world. So, mate, I celebrate you, and thanks for joining us here on the YDS Digital Disruptions podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, mate, you've been a wonderful guest, and I hope as we reflect on this, we'll find some other things to work on together. So yeah, have a great show.